A lot of people have asked me this question several times as to if it's possible for you to change employers. That means moving from one hospital to another if you really need to. Hello everyone, welcome to my channel and welcome to another video. So for those who are already part of this family, thank you so much for subscribing and thank you for supporting this channel till now. And if you are coming across this channel for the first time, you are welcome to join the family. My name is Dinah, and on this channel I share tips on how you can migrate to the UK as a registered nurse. I've done so many videos on this channel. Feel free to check them out, and if you find any of them useful, consider subscribing and also share with others. A lot of people have asked me this question several times as to if it's possible for you to change employers. That means moving from one hospital to another if you really need to. So the answer to this question is yes. I did a Q&A video in which I addressed a lot of questions, and I believe this question came and someone wanted to know if moving from one hospital affects you applying for your indefinite in the next 5 years. You know, after you've lived here legally for 5 years, you are allowed to apply for indefinite leave to remain, and moving from one hospital does not affect your eligibility to apply for that indefinite leave in any way. Feel free to check out that video because I address a lot of concerns. Like I said, it's possible and you are allowed to move from one hospital to the other if there need be. I have currently moved from that hospital I was working in initially, so I'm going to share with you the process involved, how long it will take, the amount involved, the documents you need to submit to the Home Office in order for you to go through this process smoothly in order to start a new job in a new hospital. Let's talk about some of the reasons why people do wish to move from one hospital to the other, or why people change employers. And because I've gone through the process, I will be chipping in my personal experience as I go on. So one reason could be that for some reasons there is they are working in an area whereby the accommodation and the cost of living is so expensive that they can't afford anymore. If that is the case, you realize that you might be spending most of your money on rent and bills, and honestly the money is not really enough. So if you're going to end up spending all your salary on rent and bills, that means you're virtually working for nothing. So if you find yourself in an area like this, definitely you would want to move to an area that is a bit cheaper. So another reason could be that you might find yourself in a ward that you don't really enjoy working anymore. So I was working in a gastromedical ward. I really did like the ward, but then I realized there was a culture in that ward that I could not change. And I'm someone that if I find myself in an environment where I cannot have control over what is going on, or change situations, or change things, or even have a voice, then I feel like I will not be happy. So I would definitely move. That is my own personal thing. And if you also find yourself in an environment whereby you don't really see yourself growing career-wise, that could be a reason for you to actually rethink. And then this might actually make somebody move to another hospital. Someone might also not want to be at the bedside anymore and might choose a different career path. This could also be another reason for them to decide to move to another area. So another important reason why people do move is if you happen to migrate to the UK on your own and then later on wish to invite your spouse as well as your kids, and you find yourself in an area where accommodation is so expensive, obviously you cannot rent an apartment to accommodate your family as well. So you might want to move to a cheaper area where accommodation is a bit cheaper so that you can afford to rent an apartment that would accommodate you and your family. If, for instance, your hospital says you have to work at least for 1 year or 2 years, and you feel like you've worked for that 1 year, you've worked for that 2 years, then you could also move. So that could also be another reason. Now that we've addressed the issue of why people do move, let's go into the main business of this day and talk about the whole process involved. So if you are not aware, let me just make it clear that one thing about this tier 2 working visa in this country is that if for any reasons at all you need to change employers, the BRP you have currently will no longer be valid. Let me put it this way. So you would have to apply for you have to get a new certificate of sponsorship from your new employer and then apply for a new BRP. Once you've made that decision to move, you are convinced that you need to move from this area, you are no longer interested in this hospital or in this ward for whatever reason at all, what you need to start doing is to start looking for the kind of jobs that you are looking for. So you can go onto NHS website whereby you can actually search for any job that suits what you're looking for. You can also use track jobs. As you do the application, one thing you need to bear in mind that if you really want that job, write a good supporting statement, because without that, there will be, you can make several applications but you may not get the job, because bear in mind that for that job you're applying for, there are thousands of people applying for that same kind of job. So what will make your application stand out is by you writing a good supporting statement. Once you've sent in your application, what you need to do is to pray for the favor of God for them to call you for the interview, because the managers will go through all those applications to screen them, and then they will select a few for interview depending on the number of people they are actually looking for. So once you are successful for the interview, definitely you get a letter from the HR informing you or congratulating you for being successful for the interview. Then you get a conditional offer letter. So after the conditional offer letter, then you will need to satisfy certain conditions. That is why it's called conditional offer letter. So the conditions you need to satisfy is that they will have to do like a DBS. They also have to do reference check, because you have to provide names of 2 people they can contact as reference. You also need to go to occupational health clearance. So there will be a list of questionnaires that occupational health would also send you to fill out. So once you've gone through all of this occupational health, your references are checked, and then your DBS is cleared, then you need to get your new BRP. And before you get the new BRP, the new hospital will have to apply for a new certificate of sponsorship for you. Once it's done, they will send it to you by email. This is what you will need in submitting to the Home Office again for a new BRP. So the documents that you need when you are making the application for this new BRP is certificate of sponsorship that they have sent you. You can also add your NMC registration, anything that shows that indeed you are working with the you are registered with the UK NMC. You can also add the current BRP that you have, as well as your passport. All of these have to be in soft copy. So you go onto the government website and making the application. The amount of money you have to pay is £251. That is how much it will cost for you to make this new application for the new BRP. Once you've made the application, pay the money, then you will have to book an appointment to go to the Home Office to do the biometrics. And in the NHS, you have to give 2 months notice. So let me give you this tip. Once you get your conditional offer letter after the interview, that is when I would advise that you give the notice to your manager, because if you want to wait until you get the new BRP before you give the 2 months notice, then it means it's even going to take you long for you to move from that old hospital to the new hospital. So what I did was, the moment I got I passed the interview and got my conditional offer letter, I gave a notice to my manager that in the next 2 months I wish to move to a different hospital. The whole process of you having to do the occupational health, the DBS check and everything, it can take a while. So hopefully by the time you are done with all of that, it would have been 2 months, so that at least you will not end up staying for long again in that hospital. Please, I hope this is really clear. So once you've sorted out a new start date with your old manager and your current manager, then the HR in the new hospital will give you an unconditional offer letter. So that means by then you've satisfied all the conditions, everything is set for you to start. So if you are yet to come in, do not be scared, do not be afraid, or do not let anybody put any fear in you that you have to be in this particular place and you have to get stuck there for any number of years. If for any reasons you have to move, you are allowed to move. I did a video on the tier 2 visa restrictions that most people are not aware of. I never knew that if I had to move from one hospital to the other, I had to go through this whole process of applying for a new visa. I never knew, but then I've made a video about tier 2 visa restrictions. Kindly check that video out. Share this video with anybody who might be in this process of moving from one hospital to the other and not really know the way out or how to go about it. So see you in my next video. Bye bye.